Finally, the flown drone in Romania. I hope you all remember my warnings about what a deliberately or unintentionally mistaken drone. It is World War III. I warn against strong statements, strong words about the war between the Union and Russia. Such words can only be used by totally irresponsible people who think that war is a computer game. On the contrary, this incident, about which we do not know anything together, should make an enormous effort to open a dialogue between the European Union and the Russian Federation. The only one, that is, a dialogue, can prevent total misfortune. Please, let us realize the value of peaceful life, that tomorrow we will enjoy a peaceful, nice and comfortable Sunday with our families and friends, and that we will not have to flee to the shelters from which there is often no return. I wish you a beautiful, peaceful Sunday, dear friends, and let's start thinking together about how to act as government representatives of the breadwinners of Brussels and those who are today the deadly enemy of Russia or others. You know very well what I am talking about. Peace above all.
Большое вам спасибо. Не сердитесь, давайте. Спасибо.
A drone has struck an apartment block in Galati, Romania, a NATO member state, during a Russian attack on neighboring Ukraine. But it is Vladimir Putin's response that has set the world talking. Speaking at a press conference in Astana, Kazakhstan, informed of the incident only moments before entering the hall, Putin said flatly, the drone was Ukrainian, not Russian.
I only just found out right before entering this hall. It was reported to me that some event had occurred with supposedly our drone.
According to Putin, these were drones of Ukrainian origin that went off course, flying into Romanian territory under the influence of electronic warfare, or due to what he called the imperfection of technical data. This, he said, is most likely what happened in Galati. Putin pointed to precedent. Ukrainian drones have previously strayed into Poland, Finland, and the Baltic states, triggering identical alarm before being identified as Ukrainian.
These were drones of Ukrainian origin. They went off course, they flew in there under the influence of electronic warfare or for some other reasons due to the imperfection of technical data, and fell there. In this case, I think that most likely we are talking about exactly such a situation.
But here is the sharper edge to this story. Putin's stray Ukrainian drone narrative, plausible enough on the surface, is a tested disinformation anchor. It seeds doubt before any official investigation concludes, and it will be amplified. Russian and pro-Russian media globally will run with it hard. The Western public is the target. The investigation has not concluded. The narrative, however, already has.
No one can say the origin of this or that aircraft until an examination of this aircraft is conducted.
NATO has not stayed silent. The alliance accused Moscow of reckless behavior and pledged to defend every inch of Allied territory. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen called it a crossing of another line. Romania has formally attributed the drone to Russia. Putin, meanwhile, has demanded debris be handed over for Moscow's own independent examination.
Let them hand it over to us. We will conduct an objective investigation, and only then in this case give an assessment of what happened.
I just spoke with the president of Romania. Tonight, a Russian drone hit a residential building on Romanian territory. People were injured. We wish them a speedy recovery. We agreed with President Nikishor that Ukraine supports Romania in this situation. Our team's military personnel and specialists will work together to strengthen air defense. By supporting each other, we are now making our joint positions stronger. This is very important. Today, we also held a long meeting with military leaders. Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces Syrskyi and Chief of the General Staff Natov. We are actively defending ourselves and continuing to achieve our objectives, primarily destroying Russian logistics and the oil industry. Everything that makes it harder for Russia to wage this war helps bring peace closer.
Friday's Security Council meeting was called by Russia, and the country's ambassador to the United Nations expanded on allegations we'd already heard from Russia's Ministry of Defense, saying that the country had evidence that there were at least 30 laboratories in Ukraine that had been carrying out experiments with substances like the plague, anthrax, and other fatal diseases, and the ambassador said they had evidence that the United States was carrying that work out and also funding it. Now, Ukraine's ambassador to the UN took part in this briefing and denied those allegations. He said that Ukraine's healthcare system was run in full compliance with all international conventions.
As Russia is conducting a special military operation in Ukraine, we discovered a truly shocking fact of emergency cleanup by the Kiev regime of the traces of a military biological program which is being implemented by Kiev with support by the United States Ministry of Defense.
We know quite well that the manic obsession with which Putin fantasizes about non-existent biological or chemical weapons or hazards in Ukraine is very dangerous. It may actually point at Russia preparing another horrific false flag operation.
Now, a number of other members of the Security Council said that Russia had not presented evidence to back up their allegations regarding the development of biological weapons in Ukraine. And the United Nations itself has said that it is unaware of any actions by the Ukrainian government that are inconsistent with its international treaty obligations on chemical or biological weapons. Now, the US ambassador to the UN said that she believed Russia was trying to legitimize disinformation by bringing this debate to the Security Council. She said that Ukraine has no biological weapons program, and she said there were no labs supported or funded by the United States. She said that she was concerned that Russia was attempting to lay the groundwork for a possible chemical or biological weapons attack itself. She also accused China of spreading misinformation on behalf of Russia. That was something the Chinese ambassador to the UN refuted very strongly during the briefing. He said that there should be multilateral confirmation that laboratories in Ukraine do not pose a threat to the rest of the world, and he called on the United States to disprove the allegations Russia had made against it.
The international community has long had serious concerns over the United States' biological military activities. The US controls 336 biological laboratories across the globe. This is the figure submitted by the US to the Convention on the Prohibition of Biological Weapons. The US has contended to be open and transparent. If it regards the relevant information as false, it can provide evidence for clarification, so as to facilitate judgment from the international community.
It's unlikely we'll see a resolution from the Security Council on this because we're still in the situation where Russia, as a permanent member of the body, has the ability to veto Security Council resolutions. However, we did in the meeting hear from the UN's High Representative for Disarmament Affairs, that's Izumi Nakamitsu, who said that signees to that convention can call on the other members to investigate another signee if they have worries that they are breaking the regulations. And she urged the signees to the convention to make use of that. So that is a possible future line of action, probably one that would have to be instigated by Russia. Sarah Walton, CGTN, New York.
інформація від розвідок про можливість масованого удару залишається актуальною. Ми знаємо, що партнери говорили з росіянами щодо цього, віри в те, що хтось там в Москві одумається, немає. Обов'язково бережіть життя, реагуйте на небезпеку. Наше ППО, наші мобільні вогневі групи, наша бойова авіація – всі в готовності, наскільки можливо, враховуючи постачання. Відсоток збиття шахедів нашими воїнами стабільно вище 90, це 90-93%. По крилатих ракетах та балістиці з усіма партнерами ми працюємо, щоб були нові внески в програму Pearl. Ми шукаємо інші способи отримати.
Russian military officials have alleged that 38 laboratories across Ukraine ran experiments on civilians, framing the claim as part of a broader narrative about Western activity near Russia's borders. Shut down by Donald Trump earlier this year, U.S. aid is now being accused by Moscow of involvement in secret pharmaceutical testing on civilians in Ukraine. Russia claimed that U.S. aid may have been involved in testing pharmaceutical drugs on Ukrainian citizens, raising serious ethical and legal questions in its narrative. The allegation was made by Major General Alexei Ryzhev during a briefing in Moscow, where he outlined Russia's latest accusations. Ryzhev, who heads Russia's radiation, chemical, and biological protection troops, presented these claims as part of his official remit. Russia also said that U.S. officials have previously admitted to defense-related biological work in Ukrainian laboratories tied to Western programs. In this context, Moscow cited comment from figures like John Kirby and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as acknowledgement of U.S. work in Ukrainian labs. Ryzhev pointed to an interview Cornell chemist Dave Collum gave to Tucker Carlson in August 2025, using it to bolster his allegations. In that interview, Collum allegedly confirmed that drug testing on Ukrainians took place in 38 separate laboratories across the country. The general said these labs handled pharmaceutical products that were then tested on local populations, implying human experimentation. Russia framed all of this as part of a wider pattern of linked biological and chemical activity inside Ukraine that Moscow views as threatening. Officials in Moscow also claimed that USAID helped fund Event 201, a coronavirus pandemic simulation exercise held before COVID-19 emerged. Ryzhev said that this drill took place in October 2019, shortly before the start of the global COVID-19 pandemic. Russian officials hinted that sponsoring such simulations fits a broader pattern of risky biomedical projects supported by U.S.-linked entities. The Kremlin tied these accusations to earlier claims about Pentagon-backed biological laboratories operating in Ukraine and other states near Russia's borders. Ryzhev said his suspicions are reinforced by comments he attributes to Elon Musk about U.S. foreign aid structures. Musk has previously called USAID a criminal organization in his political broadsides and online posts. The tech mogul has alleged that USAID uses taxpayer money to fund research he describes as bioweapon-related or highly dangerous.
In an interview to American journalist Tucker Carlson in August 2025, a professor of organic chemistry at Cornell University, Dave Collum, confirmed pharmaceutical testing on the Ukrainian population in 38 laboratories. To ensure the secrecy of such research, the sponsors are not military agencies, but rather civilian agencies and non-governmental organizations. One of them is the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, which was terminated by U.S. President Donald Trump's decision. In the United States, the agency funded the event 201 exercise designed to deal with an epidemic of an unknown coronavirus. I would like to stress that the exercise was held in October 2019, right before the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. In February 2025, Elon Musk, head of the Department of Government Efficiency, called USAID a criminal organization, which again confirms the conclusions of the Russian Defense Ministry regarding the agency's involvement in illegal activities, including the coup d'etat in Ukraine and the commence of a propaganda war against Russia. No less serious concerns are raised by Ukraine's activities in the field of radiation safety, including Kiev's attempts at nuclear blackmail. Andrei Yermak, former head of the Ukrainian presidential office, has a special role in this regard. He personally supervised the organizational, logistical, and financial flows of spent nuclear fuel imported into Ukraine without notifying IAEA and other relevant organizations. The supply chains were organized through Poland and Romania. This creates the risk of creating a so-called dirty bomb and then using it under a false flag. This is evidenced by the training methods of the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, available to us. One of the training areas is simulating the situation of stealing ionizing radiation sources, manufacturing an explosive device, and detonating it in a crowded place.
Russia's envoy to the OPCW, Alexander Terebrin, has earlier alleged that Ukraine runs a network of chemical laboratories with military ties. Terebrin claimed these facilities produce toxic substances intended for use by the Ukrainian armed forces, according to Russian reports. Moscow has long argued that U.S.-backed laboratories in Ukraine and nearby countries are engaged in work that edges toward biological weapons. Kyiv and Western governments categorically deny these accusations, but the new focus on USAID marks a sharper escalation in Russia's information campaign.
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.
Это путь в никуда, если просто с действующим главой администрации, так скажем, аккуратно проводить встречи. Можно, я никогда не отказывался от этого, если эта встреча хорошо подготовлена и будет вести к каким-то позитивным, возможно, результатам. Кстати говоря, Дональд попросил меня, если возможно, провести такую встречу. Я сказал, да, это возможно. Ну, в конце концов, если Зеленский готов, пусть приезжает в Москву. Такая встреча.
What What about sunrise? What about rain? What about all the things that you said we were together?